Social media and YouTube is rapidly changing. Are you prepared?
These numbers now, followers, subscribers, are useless. The social platforms are showing your followers and your fans completely different content.
We are seeing more content from strangers than we are from the channels we're subscribed to.
I'm here to tell you that I think large audience of people that spend a lot of time on the social platforms are getting a little fed up with the hypey, crazy stuff that they see every day, and they're looking for something different. In order to counter the really high entertainment content that so many creators feel like they cannot do, there is an alternative path.
In today's episode of the Think Media podcast, we're going to be talking about 3 mega social media trends you need to know for 2025 and how you can ultimately apply these if you're starting a brand new channel or different platforms, if you're trying to break through a plateau. Maybe you're not getting views like you used to. Maybe you're not getting reach like you're used to, and you're trying to figure out what's changed. How do I innovate? And we're going to be getting into some micro tactics throughout this episode. My guest today is Mike Stelzner, who has founded multiple different projects, including Social Media Examiner, and runs the globally renowned event social media marketing world, and has done a lot of really cool things. Michael, welcome to the podcast.
Sean, thank you, man. It's great to be here.
So I'm so excited to dive into these 3 mega trends. You're a social media expert, and this is part 1 of a 2-part conversation. So I recommend people checking out the show notes where we go really deep in some of the newest stuff you've been going deep in, and that is AI. But let's kick it off with big theme number 1, and that is that the social media algorithms have changed. Can you break that down?
Yeah, it's a really, really big problem if you are seeing declining reach, views, exposure across all the platforms. First of all, you're not alone. That's the first thing. It's happening everywhere. The truth of the matter is that this creates a lot of problems for anyone who creates content, whether you're a creator, entrepreneur, marketer. First of all, we all create content for a purpose, right? And it's not just getting more views. Typically, it's ultimately trying to hopefully sell a product or a service or whatever your back-end business model is. And when you post content and it's not seen as much, that means not as many people take the action that you want them to take, which might be going out and checking out your services or your products. And typically what happens in a lot of people's minds is like they say, okay, well, I'm going to try to game the system by increasing the frequency at which I post. So instead of posting just one time a week, I'm going to post one time a day. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I got to post multiple times a day. And then all of a sudden what starts happening is you realize your reach is going down, and what you desire is more and more reach because you want to be in front of more people. And what often happens, Sean, is burnout. And I've seen it. You've seen it. It happens all over the place where people feel like they get to the point in their head where they're like, why am I doing this? I don't understand what's happening. Something isn't working. And here's kind of what's going on. The social platforms, all of the social platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, LinkedIn, you name it, they are deprioritizing content from the friends. For example, if it's a social network, they're deprioritizing it from businesses, and they're also deprioritizing it from subscribers. And everybody on YouTube that has worked really hard to grow a big subscriber base can understand this. And Sean, you know this really well, right? You've got like 1 million+ subscribers on one of your channels, and you and I both know that they do not see ever all of the content, despite all this work and all these years of work that you put in. So this is happening because really TikTok kicked this off with this For You feed, right? So what they started doing is they started showing content based on what they believe you're interested in. And the social platforms have eventually learned this, right? They've learned that despite the action that you take to follow a page or a YouTube channel or whatever, they kind of learn what you're interested in based on your behavior. And what they do is they show you more and more of that behavior. And the result of that is often you see content from people you've never heard of before, but it's interesting, it's entertaining, it's exciting. And what that does is it changes kind of the metrics that we used to care about. because the metrics that everybody used to care about, they want to get one of those silver play things, which I've got one, you've got one, or they want a gold one, right? Or they want to get 100,000 subscribers or followers or whatever, or 1 million. And the problem is that that has become a metric that's not as important anymore. It's a vanity metric. So the one value of having a fair amount of followers and subscribers is a concept known as social proof. Robert Cialdini, who wrote the book Influence, which is a great book, he coined the term social proof. And the concept behind social proof is that when someone doesn't know who you are, they look for social signals to indicate that this is someone important. This is something that is valuable. And traditional social proof is like testimonials, comments, YouTube reviews. But other forms of social proof are how many people are following them. If more people seem to follow them or they have more subscribers, I should pay attention because there's a signal that says this is important, because if other people think it's important, it must be important. That's a valuable thing. But I'm here to tell you it's a vanity metric when it comes to ultimately anything, any real form of marketing. It doesn't matter. And anybody who's ever achieved that number and begins to realize with it doesn't come more fame, with it doesn't come more money, with it doesn't necessarily come more opportunities. They have to kind of reframe what is important, right? So these numbers now, followers, subscribers, size of network, are useless outside of social proof. So this is what's happening. Instead, what's happening is the social platforms, as you know, are showing your followers and your fans completely different content. And this is the challenge that we're up against, is that we as creators, whether you be a YouTuber or a podcaster or a writer or a photographer, we're up against this entertaining concept, this entertaining content that is out there. And it's the kind of stuff that you see when you get stuck on TikTok or Instagram Reels or any other kind of algorithmic content. And this stuff tends to be highly entertaining. It tends to be almost impossible for your average creator to make, because a lot of it is so fantastical that what it does is it kind of sends this signal into the brain of creators that I could never do that. I don't know what to do. And the truth of the matter is the social platforms know this kind of content is addictive. And what the platforms care about is retaining people on platform. Sean, we've been talking about this for years. The most important metric on YouTube is what? Retention, right?
Are you ready to start your YouTube channel, but you don't know where to begin? Or have you been posting videos, but you're frustrated because you're just not getting the views and nobody is seeing them? For a limited time, you can get the #1 best-selling YouTube strategy book, YouTube Secrets, for free at ytsecrets.com. This book is the proven blueprint that has helped thousands of people go from 0 subscribers to a thriving channel. All I ask is that you pay shipping, and then I will mail you the brand new updated 2nd edition of YouTube Secrets. And when you place your order today, there's a couple other super cool things that'll hook you up with. First, you're gonna get instant access to a free deep dive masterclass where I will break down the exact strategy I'm currently using to generate over 120,000 views per day, every single day on YouTube, and generate over $100,000 per month on the platform, as well as the 3 biggest mistakes that most creators make when starting and trying to grow their channel. That class is free to watch instantly when you pick up this special offer. Now, you're also gonna get my video series called The Perfect Video Recipe. One of the updated chapters in the 2nd edition is titled The Perfect Video Recipe. It's actually a formula for how to structure YouTube videos to get maximum views and how to break through in the YouTube algorithm. This is the exact formula that readers of the book and our students are using to generate millions of views. And again, that'll just be included when you jump on this limited offer. Third, you're gonna get access to our 1,000 Subs Club email newsletter, which delivers actionable weekly tips to your email inbox that will help you get to 1,000 subscribers fast. And we also do really cool weekly giveaways that includes lighting and microphones and YouTube equipment, plus software that will help you on your creator journey. But here's the thing, supplies are limited on this free book promotion. So if you wanna grab this offer, go to ytsecrets.com right now and just place your order covering shipping, and I'll get this book in the mail to you right away.
So moral of the story here is that all the platforms want you on the platform so that they can monetize you. Because the longer that you stay on the platform, the more you're going to see advertisements. And let's be clear, ads is the main way that all of these platforms make money. So if they cannot retain people on platform with your content, they're going to give that content to someone else, because all of these people have a limited amount of time on the platform. So we need to reframe our mindset, because what happens is the entertaining content gets bigger, everything else gets pushed out, everything else gets smaller. So the new reframe now is not more is better. It's not more subscribers, more followers, more this, more that. What's the new reframe is right is better than more. The right people is greater than more people. And that's really important. You need to attract the right people, no matter how big the number is. If you can attract the right people, then you can accomplish whatever your mission is, right? So if your mission is to sell more of your books, you need to attract the right people. If it's to sell a consultancy, it's the right people. It's not about the more people, because when you attract the more people, generally speaking, it means broader topics, and it means they're probably not likely going to buy whatever it is you have to sell. So small is the new big. That's the first concept.
Well, I want to unpack a few things before we go on to the next macro trend. It's so fascinating. Basically, what you're saying is that we are seeing more content from strangers than we are from the channels we're subscribed to, because content is what's rising to the top. Now, there's downside to this if you're established and you've been in this a while, like you and I have, because there is this quote of subscribers don't matter. And there's a lot of truth to that, that you might have a lot of subscribers, but you're not actually getting the views or the reach. The opportunity is that brand new channels can post content that can get discovered. It's sometimes been called the TikTokification of social, because TikTok was so known of people going from zero to a lot of exposure without having to take years to build a following. So the content becomes the variable. Am I getting that right?
Yes, you are. And it's not about the new channels. It's about the right kind of content, right? Just because you have a new channel with the wrong content, it's not going to work. I think anyone who creates the right kind of content can get views and exposure. But I think what I'm trying to tell everybody is views and exposure alone are not going to be sufficient to sustain a long-term objective here as creators, as entrepreneurs, as marketers. Instead, it's all about the right numbers. So that's the most important thing. So don't get caught up in one of your YouTube videos getting tens or hundreds of thousands or even millions of views, because there's a pretty good chance that that probably is a very broad video, and it's probably not necessarily attracting the kind of people that will ultimately buy your products and services. So it's much better for you to get 1,000 people to watch a few videos, or even hundreds of people, of the right people to watch a few videos and then ultimately want to do business with you, than to get millions of people watching the wrong videos and never wanting to do business with you.
I understand. And so that's really one of the new ways forward in 2025. It's not necessarily about more views, it's about the right views. And it's also then about the right business model, thinking through that you're probably losing from the start if you're depending on the TikTok creator fund or YouTube ad revenue. Because even if you are good at generating views in the short term, if you don't diversify your income streams or really think about a deeper and more diverse foundation financially in the creator economy, you're in trouble to the ups and downs of CPMs and RPMs and ad revenue and trends. And there's so many creators that have had 15 minutes of viral fame, but they were there yesterday and they're gone today. They didn't create a sustainable creator business.
Yeah, it's like magnesium, it puts off a lot of light, but it lasts for a microsecond.
Okay, so the second macro trend is authenticity matters more than ever. Explain what you mean here.
Okay, so in order to counter this, I don't know, Mr. Beastification, I know we've used this term before, or whatever you want to call it, in order to counter the really high entertainment content that so many creators feel like they cannot do, there is a alternative path, which I have done pretty extensively, and I'll talk about an example of it in a minute. But I'm here to tell you that I think the audience, large audience of people that spend a lot of time on the social platforms, and I'm not just talking YouTube, I'm talking all the social platforms, are getting a little fed up with the hypey, crazy stuff that they see every day, and they're looking for something different. And I think what they're looking for is raw, authentic stories that they can connect to on an emotional level. And it's true that stories have always been really, really valuable, but I feel like now they're even more valuable than ever because most of the content that the social platforms focus on is like short, 30-second or less content that's designed to shock and awe people, right? But I'm talking about something that's a little longer and something that's a little more raw and real. And we're talking about unpolished content here. We're talking about the kinds of content that most people would be afraid to share, raw, real. And this stuff works because people crave authenticity. There's so much fakeness on the social platforms. And if anything, TikTok has made it worse, right? Short form video has made it horribly bad. And what really people want is they want to hear the real, true, behind the scenes. What are the struggles that are going on? And I'm going to tell you an example of one that I wrote about recently. And here's what I said. This person, quote unquote, said, "Tell me why I should recommend your event again," he said. Those are the words I heard from a passionate friend and former customer while in a crowded bar last night. We proceeded to chat for a long while. The message he said was clear. There were only two events he recommended to everyone: Vid Summit, the event I'm at now, and Social Media Marketing World. But something happened that made him change. And I went on to talk about why he felt like Social Media Marketing World was not for him anymore. Now, here I am, the founder and creator of this conference, and I'm publicly sharing a customer story from someone who really cares about me and said, "I don't think this event is for you anymore," right? And this is what I do every single week. I share these real stories of behind the scene challenges that I face as a marketer and as an entrepreneur. I do it through text, and I do it across X, LinkedIn, and Facebook because those are the only three platforms that support long form written text. Even Threads is not long form. So I share these long things every single week, and there's always a little lesson in it. And I've always got one of my products worked into the middle of it, generally speaking. Now, if I was good on video and I feel like it's not my craft, I'm not going to lie, I would probably share these very same stories on video. But my craft is the written word because I'm a writer and I'm also a podcaster. So this kind of content gets enormous engagement, but doesn't get a lot of reach. So what I mean by that is I get really rich comments from people and I engage with every single comment. And people are excited because they get a chance to share their thoughts on what I just wrote about. And here's what ends up happening. What ends up happening is people private message me and say, "Whoa, I didn't realize you were dealing with that." Or "I'm dealing with that too. That's amazing." And what it does is it draws a bond between you and your audience in a way that is really, really strong. Now, I want to pause here. I don't know, Sean, does anybody do this in the YouTube world? Does this stuff work in this world?
Yeah, I mean, we said a quote at Growth Video Live, our event this past year: authenticity is the new currency. And we've been seeing in the YouTube world, some of the videos, getting very specific to YouTube, is if you're over 40, why you should start a YouTube channel if you're over 40. And there's this massive wave of creators that are maybe in their 50s, 60s, even
Mm-hmm.
talking about empty nesters, talking about
Struggle, right?
struggle, talking about maybe kind of being lonely, maybe kind of reinventing themselves. And it's just blowing up. And then you're seeing that across every vertical. You're seeing some, because it's also the counter trend to, social media on steroids eventually has a video titled,
How to
how
get rich overnight, right?
yeah, how I became a millionaire at age 13, how I bought my first 10 rental properties as a 15-year-old, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like just this ridiculous and so exactly what you're doing in long form text is really happening in YouTube. Some people are calling it YouTube easy mode because easy mode means the production value, that's not the challenge. It's not a lot of editing. Maybe there's some jump cuts because you're still trying to just like you would edit text. Like you're sitting down and typing, it's flowing from the heart, but you craft the message a little bit, but it's just raw. It's your heart bleeding out of just the real thing that's happening. And one of our students, Rena, was really started to tap into stuff when she started talking about menopause and just getting really real about, she kind of has a over 40s message to her community. And as she got into topics, and not just to chase views, and that's not even the point, right? Because we're talking about depth, but we're talking about vulnerability. We're talking about authenticity. And so, absolutely, the video format. And let me just say, as you go deeper, though, that these posts resonate with me at a deep level. Like, these ones show up in my feed, and I'm thinking about Facebook here, and especially the entrepreneur stuff. When you talk about the mistakes in business and the money lost, or the challenges, or the self-doubt, or the insecurity, the funny thing is, everybody listening to this, like, we all have that. Like, it's like we all are, and we're like, man, it's so
People don't talk
refreshing.
about that, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, this is the key part of it. The algorithms love this. Okay, the reason they love this is because people are actively engaging with this content.
This episode is brought to you by StreamYard. StreamYard is our go-to platform here at Think Media for live streaming to Facebook and YouTube, and for recording our video podcast. It has an incredibly easy to use interface for built-in branding, transitions, text lower thirds, and seamlessly bringing on guests. And they just added an awesome new feature called local recording. This allows you to take the quality to another level by separating out your audio and video from your guests, giving you more control over your content for later use. This feature is perfect for video and podcast creators. And so, to get a special deal on StreamYard right now and to see all the features that are included, just go to streamwiththink.com. That is streamwiththink.com.
And what's good about the social platforms is they will find the right audience for this content. And sometimes the comment section is richer than the post itself. And a lot of people end up sharing my posts and say, read the comments. People want a place where they can share, like Cheers. They want to sit around the virtual bar and they want to share the stories and the struggles and stuff like that. So that's my second thing, is that start experimenting with being vulnerable. And every single thing that happens in your business is a potential lesson. Every little thing that goes wrong is a potential story. And you can start posting about these all over the place in whatever medium makes the most amount of sense for you. Audio, written word, video, it doesn't matter. I think it'll work everywhere.
You know what I love about this tactically is, I actually heard Alex Hormozy share a powerful social media framework. And he said one of the big shifts in social was, instead of saying how to, say how I. And, because not that it is preachy, but if you say how to get views on YouTube, you're saying it's
I'm with you
prescriptive.
100%. Nobody cares about how to anymore. They care about why. They want to know the story. That's the key to the whole thing.
When the story is,
you're not
how
going to
I.
believe what happened to me, blah, blah, blah. Or this was a hard lesson for me. You start with something like that, boom, you're going to hook people in.
And if you're listening and you're like, well, I don't have any extraordinary results, how I, in your terms of your failures, mistakes, and lessons, can be incredibly powerful. So if you're on the journey,
here's the one thing I learned from this.
here's the one thing I learned. And so that is a definite 2025 trend. And even as a social media hook, instead of saying, here's how to get more views on YouTube, you could say, here's how I just got 1,000 views this last month, or here's how I ended up doing 3 sales, even though my channel shrunk. Here's how I shrunk my YouTube channel, but increased my sales in the last 30 days, as like an opening hook of content.
Or it could even be, here's the thing that absolutely crushed. Here's the thing that killed my channel and what I did about it. I mean, like, tell the horror stories. Trust me, everybody wants it.
So that's really, really good. And so authenticity is the new currency. And as we go to number 3, I do want to pose a couple questions. If you're listening to this, how can you stop chasing more views, but start actually positioning your content to get the right views? Because right is greater than more, and the algorithms are changing. And then the second big theme is authenticity matters more than ever. So what areas could you maybe create some of your next videos, some of your next content, in sharing the real and the raw, and really connecting with people? And then the third big mega trend is AI will disrupt everything. What do you mean by that?
Well, first of all, it's quite literally true. And if you don't believe it, if you don't believe me now, you will believe me later. Um, Here's first how I want to frame this. If everybody could go back in time and talk to a younger version of themselves, let's say 5, 10 years ago, would you tell yourself, hey, this YouTube thing is going to be kind of big, get started now? Or would you tell yourself, hey, this TikTok thing, this Musically thing, it's kind of big. I think you should start now. What would you tell your younger self, given what you know now about what is hot and popular right now? Well, I'm here to tell you that this is your chance to do that to yourself without having to go back in time. Because almost exactly 2 years ago from the moment this video goes live was November 30th, 2022. And you probably remember what I'm about to talk about because you probably learned about it in December or January. That's when ChatGPT came out. And ChatGPT was one of those, what the heck is this? This is a big deal kind of moments for a lot of us, right? But listen to what Sam Altman, who is the CEO of the company that actually introduced ChatGPT, said in March of 2024. Here's what he said: 95% of what marketers use agencies, strategists, and creative professionals for today will be easily, instantly, and at almost no cost be handled by AI. Okay.
That's a
So,
quote. That's it. That quote is insane.
okay, here he is. Okay. And here's what you need to know about him. Okay. OpenAI is yet to release the beast. Okay. ChatGPT, the way you know it, was probably been in production for 2 years. Okay. So you have to understand that there are stuff that they're working on behind the scenes that they know that we do not know. So you have to ask yourself, what does Sam Altman know that the rest of the world doesn't know yet? What's this wake up call that's going to come? And this is what this really means. What this really means is that a whole new class of creators is about to be born. They're not here yet. In the same way, Photoshop opened up the world of photography in a way that we could never imagine, because all of a sudden, Photoshop made everyday people amazing photographers. And Photoshop allowed incredible creative things to happen. And we all probably use Photoshop if we're doing thumbnails and all this kind of stuff, right? And we understand the power of it, right? And it's only getting better. Well, guess what? OpenAI is going to allow people to become creators that never realized that they were creators, because it's going to give them all the tools that they need to be able to produce content in mass. And if you think there's a lot of competition today, mark my words, it's going to 10x in the next 12 months, okay? You're going to see creators popping up left and right, and they're going to go from ideation to execution faster than you could ever possibly imagine. And that's a really, really big deal. Secondly, right now, people think of AI and they look at it from the wrong perspective. They think AI is ChatGPT and it's just a flashing cursor on their screen, and they put in a sentence and it outputs text and makes up lies. They have no idea that AI can do so much more than text. AI can create photorealistic images that I guarantee you would not know were AI generated. I showed some to Sean when we were prepping for this show, and his mind was blown. AI is already beginning to do video. As a matter of fact, within a matter of weeks from when this show came out, Photoshop released their AI stuff for Adobe Premiere Pro, and they can now extend shots by a couple of seconds, and they can carry on that stuff. I mean, there's so much stuff you can do with AI. We are at the early stages of a creative renaissance that is powered by artificial intelligence. It will disrupt everything. And I'm not just talking about the creative industry. Quite literally, it's going to disrupt everything.
Well, I want to encourage listeners to be a part of part 2, because we're going to go deep on AI. But if we unpack this at a trends level, I think there's probably some skeptics, and I'm curious what you would say to them if they think that AI is being overhyped right now, or it's not coming as fast as we think. What would you say?
Well, there's 250 million people that are using ChatGPT paid. Okay. 250 million. That's almost the entire population of the United States that are using ChatGPT paid right now. So I'm just honoring the ignorance of it. I get it. But trust me, I track this stuff every day. I've got a podcast called AI Explored where I'm tracking this stuff, and I am a bit of a futurist. I can see where this is going. I've been tracking this for over 2 years. You just need to do a little bit more research, and I think your eyes will be opened.
My other question here is for those that are feeling overwhelmed. Obviously, listen to part 2 of our podcast, because we're going to talk about some of the tools and how you can implement this. The quote you said was pretty, in a way, scary. You said competition is going to increase 10x in the next 12 months. I agree with you. I think that sounds pretty overwhelming when it feels like already competition is fierce. But if I'm understanding what you're saying, you're not, you at least are on a level playing field with the competition, because the reason it's going to increase is because this is a new generation of creators embracing AI. And so the reason you would not be able to keep up with competitors is because you're sitting on the sidelines, not continuing to learn, not
Yes.
diving in right now, and
Your
not
opportunity is to actually sprint right now. That is your opportunity, because you will have the competitive edge because you're listening to this video, you're listening to the audio version of this. You have the chance to learn and get ahead so that you can increase your productivity, increase your creativity, and ultimately increase your output. Because Sean and I know this, we've already probably twice increased our productivity because of artificial intelligence. And those creators that are really good with creating content have a chance to really take it to the next level, and you will have an edge over those that do not. And you don't. What's amazing is it's not going to take as much time. That's the most important thing. The big fear that's holding people back from creating great content is the amount of time, and now that can all be solved very, very quickly.
as we land the plane, just to put a little context around this, I do think that in some cases, AI seems overhyped. Like there's a lot of surface level chatter, there's not a lot of depth there. I'll say this, I think that probably some of my favorite credit card charges that I pay every single month willingly and gladly is I pay for ChatGPT, I pay for Gemini Advanced, I pay for vidIQ and the AI coach. And my productivity has at least 2 to 4x. And I'm already an assassin. I think already amongst maybe some, they might say, you're putting out a decent amount of content. You're putting out a decent amount of consistently ranking videos, reinventing yourself. But AI has blown my mind. And I recently had a conversation with Benji Travis, co-author of YouTube Secrets as well. And I was talking about how I think the mistake people make in AI is they think, like you said, it's a blinking cursor and they just put the sentence into it. I said, I'm giving 5-minute prompts. I'm talking to AI all the time right now. Might sound funny, but I talk to AI more than my friends, and I talk to AI, verbal audio prompts.
Yeah, and it talks back to you.
Yeah, I talk to AI and I have business conversations. I have strategic conversations. It's making me a better communicator with my team in Slack, consolidating my ideas. I recently just planned out 20 videos in depth, raising the quality of the videos based off questions that I just found on the internet and creating content around that. I'll admit the learning curve is real. So like you said, you got to sprint. And I think probably one of the biggest vulnerabilities, I'm 40 and I could just say as I age, you can feel the temptation to be like, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And sometimes you wish it was like it used to be. Sometimes I started editing video back when Adobe Premiere came on CD-ROMs, and there was no creative cloud. There was actually no cloud. You ordered the CDs, they were shipped to your house or business, and you put them in your CD-ROM to install your software. And now, even the embracing of the fact that what used to take 3 hours in video editing in some context takes 3 minutes, and realizing, man, I got to reinvent myself. I got to keep learning. And that's one thing I respect about you, is that you understand that like, man, if you Eric Ries, who wrote The Lean Startup, said the only way to win is to learn faster than anybody else. So I think
there's one thing I need to share here, which is really fascinating for any skeptic. Google just bought a nuclear power plant. Okay. And big corporations are spending billions of dollars buying NVIDIA chips. NVIDIA is now one of the largest companies in the world. It's the second largest company in the world by market cap behind Apple. Okay. They are the ones. Why is Google buying nuclear power plants? Why are these huge corporations spending tens of billions of dollars buying NVIDIA chips? Because they understand what we do not yet understand, that artificial intelligence requires enormous amount of power and requires enormous amount of investment. If these huge corporations, the biggest corporations in the world, Elon Musk spent billions developing factories, for lack of better words, that power these AI chips so he can get into the race. Mark Zuckerberg is spending billions of his riches to develop open source AI models. This is the biggest land race that has ever happened in the history of the world. So if they are doing that, they see something the rest of us do not. And it's crazy. All you got to do is a little research on what I just talked about. It's an incredible opportunity. It's going to transform everything. And now is the time to get in.
Well, listen, check out the show notes to watch part 2 or listen, and it'll be out perhaps in a week, depending on when you listen to this episode. Michael, if people want to follow you, follow your podcast, all the different stuff you're doing, give it a shout out and roll call.
Yeah, AI Explored, wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can check out our YouTube channel, which is small right now at AI Examiner.
Amazing. And Think Media Podcast, subscribe, like, share, review, wherever you watch or listen. Make sure to check out the second part of my conversation, all about the best AI tools for creators and how to start learning about this so you can sprint and seize this opportunity. My name is Sean Cannell, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel. This is the Think Media Podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one.